received too many accolades to mention for all the fantastic healthcare, the contributions you've made. What would you list as your greatest achievements, perhaps through this organisation?
Well, I mean, the Institute was started as 5 people and now it's nearly 600. It's predominantly women, it's predominantly African. We're building master students, PhD students. We've got a world-class research agenda. I was in the Northwest this week in really rural clinics, looking at the RHI team in those rural clinics, working with the Department of Health. And, you know, good news stories. Those clinics are working really well. That's a partnership. But I'm blown away, if I was to say what it was by the quality of the people and the commitment of the people who we've managed to employ, and by the things that they are doing independently, and often, you know, very much, you know, I don't necessarily know the detail at all, but at each level of this institute, I'm really impressed in so many different areas by what people are achieving and the commitment to the South African community.
Now, in and amongst all of this, Prof, you've also been a dedicated wife and mother. What's it like being married to a man who's clearly still so enamoured of you after all these years?
Well, I'm going to laugh, and I'm just going to hope he's listening to you say that. I think one of the nice things, if you can stick out marriage long enough, one of the nice things is that, you know, I think most marriages have ups and downs and ins and outs, but I think that as you get older, you build up such a history together and such a commonality that you become closer and better as friends. And you know, so I think now we are probably some of the best friends we've ever been. You know, in the early days we were enamored, and, you know, in the early young lover thing, and then we had kids, and then we were involved with the struggle, and then it was life and everything else, and now I think we're at a point where we really appreciate each other.
And you've also raised 3 very socially aware children. Well, what is the secret to raising socially conscious kids?
I must say the one thing I'm very proud of them is that they have taken the values that Fazel and I tried to share with them, and they've internalized them. They've become their own, and they've got very different career paths, but each of them has these values of believing in the community, the importance of community, believing in human rights, and believing in a world that can be better for everybody, and they've internalized it differently. I think it was partly because Fazel and I lived that framework, but also they were drowned in friends and family who also lived within that framework. I mean, my poor children, if you look at the early pictures of them, they're either at rallies or they're at meetings, or, you know, they came with us. Their pastime very often was to come to a meeting, a political meeting, and to hang around and listen and play at the back. You know, on a more serious note, I think it is quite important that if you are parents, that you actually do consider what your values are, and that you do make an effort, not only in what you say to your children, but also in the way that you live your lives, so they can see that those values do have meaning. As I say, I think if I had one proud achievement, it's that these 3 young people have internalized that and have got very interesting and good careers of their own that have taken all of that into account.
Do you ever get an opportunity to pull yourself out of this rat race that you're involved in and just do something to regain your sanity?
I think I do that quite a lot, and I think a lot of that is about hanging out with friends and family. There's a lot of that, and there's a lot of silly socializing things. We've had long walks with lots of friends and family recently. These, you know, the 702 walk, and we did a Madiba house to Madiba house walk, and, you know, I think so I think part of that pulling out for me is definitely about socializing and friendships and the love of those friendships and family. Yeah.
You really do embody the kind of optimism that the country needs at this point. What do you say to the naysayers who look at our country, and particularly perhaps the health sector of our country, and say that this is such a mammoth task, it can't really be done? You
know, I think in life, when things are tough, you can either throw your hands up and say, this is too tough for me and I'm turning the other way, or you throw your hands up and you say, this is a challenge and I'm here for the journey. And if you say it's a challenge and I'm here for the journey, you will see the good things, and there are many good things I'm not denying that there are enormous challenges. But then I think instead of trying to block out those challenges, I think what you have to do is face them and say, there is a challenge. And you also mustn't be shy in speaking out when you have to speak out. You know, even if these are old comrades and colleagues and people that you work with, if things are not going right, you also have to be brave and state that that's what the case is. But what I would say is, you know, we have got the fabric of the health sector. We've got extremely good policies. We have pockets where things are going actually extremely well. We've got a lot of extraordinary people working in this health sector. What we need to do is actually put our shoulders to the wheel and push that. I think it's a fantastic country. I think people really underestimate, and I travel a lot, what an extraordinary country this is, what a lot of optimism. What a wonderful place to bring up children. We've got enormous challenges. We must tackle those challenges together.
News that moves. ENCA.com.